Hey everybody, what's going on? This is episode 3 of Cook's Corner, and I'll be bringing you my NHL Eastern Conference play-in predictions. With each of the 4 play-in series, I decided to break it down in 3 different ways. I looked at the forwards of each team, I looked at the defensemen of each team, and I looked at the goaltending of each team. Then I give an edge to one team or the other team, and in the end, I'll give a pick for that series. Let's kick things off with the New York Rangers versus the Carolina Hurricanes. I give a slight edge to the Carolina Hurricanes forward group because of that top line in Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, and Teuvo Teravainen. This is going to be a very difficult line to stop for that New York Rangers D-corps, who I don't think is going to be up to the task. On defense, I once again gave the slight advantage to the Carolina Hurricanes. I love that top pair of Dougie Hamilton and Jacob Slavin, plus the depth additions of Brady Shea and Sammy Vatanen at the trade deadline this year. In goal, I gave the advantage to the New York Rangers because of the playoff experience of Henrik Lundqvist. If he does falter this year, they have a young star on the way in Igor Shesterkin. This is a guy that's going to be a player in the NHL for many years to come. To wrap this up, I gave the Carolina Hurricanes the edge in this series. I took them in 5 games. I like the experience they got in the playoffs last year, and I think that will put them over the top this year, especially with no fans in attendance. Moving on to the Florida Panthers versus the New York Islanders, and I gave the Florida Panthers a slight edge up front for one reason and one reason only, and that is two-way phenom Alexander Barkov. They also have some nice depth on the wings with Evgeny Dadonov, Mike Hoffman, and Jonathan Huberdeau. On the back end, I kind of saw it as a wash. There's good pieces on both teams, but I just didn't see a clear-cut advantage for either side. In net, you might be a bit surprised by this, but I gave the New York Islanders and Semyon Varlamov a slight edge over Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers. I know Bobrovsky signed a big ticket in Florida this offseason, but he hasn't performed up to expectations yet, and I'd rather go with the steady play of Varlamov for now. I expect the series to be a really tightly played series. Barry Trotz is a fantastic coach, and so is Joel Quenneville for the Florida Panthers, but I did take the Florida Panthers in 5 games. I just think their offensive power will be too much for the Islanders to handle. Now let's dive into the series I'm sure a lot of you have been looking forward to, and that is the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Up front, I gave the Leafs a sizable advantage, and that is for game-changing talent. When you have Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander, you're going to give opposing teams fits, and I see the Leafs doing exactly that with this Columbus team. On the back end, I gave the advantage to the Columbus Blue Jackets because of that top pair in Zach Werenski and Seth Jones. They're going to eat about half the game for this Blue Jackets team and make life very difficult for these highly skilled Leaf forwards. Now, ultimately, I think this series is going to be decided in goal, and it's going to come down to the 2 Blue Jackets young goalies and if one of them can stand on their head. Is it going to be Korpisalo? Is it going to be Merzlikins? But if one of them does stand on their head, I do believe the Blue Jackets have a chance in this series. Now, the Leafs have a steady goalie in Frederik Andersen, and that is why I did give them the slight edge in goal. He does have that playoff experience that is valuable at this time of year. Overall, I decided to take the Leafs in 4 games in this series, but I don't believe it'll be the cakewalk that a lot of people seem to think. The Blue Jackets play a really tight system, and John Tortorella is a front runner to win the Jack Adams this season for a reason. Zach Werenski and Seth Jones are going to be 2 must-watch players in this series, and if they have what it takes to be able to shut down that Leafs star power, I think they're a fantastic duo on the back end, but I think the Leafs are just going to be too much to handle for this Blue Jackets team. Now you'll notice a slight camera angle change for this last series, and that is because the sun just does not want to be my friend today in my room. Now it's time to discuss the last series of the Eastern Conference play-in, and that is the Montreal Canadiens versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, much like the Maple Leafs, I gave the Penguins a very sizable advantage up front because of that star power patrolling the middle of the ice in Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Montreal just doesn't have that star power up front despite the emergence of young rookie Nick Suzuki. On defense, I gave the Penguins a slight advantage because I really like the mobility that Chris Letang provides if he can stay healthy, and they did have the emergence of John Marino this year on the back end as well. In Montreal, you still have that veteran presence, Shea Weber on the back end, and I'm sure Pittsburgh forwards aren't going to want to go into the corner with him. In net, you have Carey Price versus one of Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry. I'm going to give the sizable advantage here to Montreal and Carey Price. He's been fantastic in the playoffs for the Habs in the past, and we'll see if that trend can continue. It's really the only way the Canadiens can stay in this series if Carey Price plays really good hockey. The Penguins are very heavy favorites in this series, and for good reason, and I expect them to take this series in 4 games. They are just too deep and have too much star power up front for Montreal to handle. Now, with all that being said, these are my Eastern Conference play-in picks. Let me know yours below. Comment, subscribe, like this channel. There will be a Western Conference preview coming sometime this week. Thanks, everyone. Zach is out.